Hey, this is OXDF. Recently, I looked at the Einladen, I don't know, Sherlock from HackTheBox, and it's a very you get this uh, giant dump of artifacts. I think it was 12 artifacts that included HTML smuggling and HTA files that then dropped a bunch of executables, which did a DLL side loading, which eventually, presumably from the C2, downloaded a JavaScript file and ran it to bring in another .NET executable rat, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. And to solve the Sherlock, which I posted in a blog post last week, and I'll put a link in the description here, I didn't really have to dig into this one set of malware that was out there. They gave me a PCAP, and they gave me a set of procmon logs for the malware running, and that was all I needed to solve the challenge. But I mean, it's a fun piece of malware, right? We got to take a look at it. So today we're going to walk through some initial analysis to figure out what this malware is doing. What we think it's doing is it's making a contact with a chat service called Zulip.com, and it's using that for C2. And we think it's going to use that to download and execute something else. So we're going to see if we can figure out what's going on inside the malware. I got in here, we're going over here to a terminal. I've gotten here a directory with the 3 pieces of malware specifically that we're going to look at today. Actually, I shouldn't say 3 pieces of malware. There's a piece of malware, there's a piece of kind of like, where? And then there's a piece of Windows signed executable. But anyway, I got these 3 things in a directory, and we're going to kind of go through each of them, see how it does a DLL side loading attack, and then look what the malware does. To start, we'll start with msoev.exe. If I run file on this, again, msoev.exe, there we go. It's a Windows executable. If we do an MD5 sum, in fact, let's just do it on all of these things. If we grab this here and jump over into VirusTotal to search for it, it's completely benign, 0 out of 70. I've known, or at least it's completely undetected. But it also has, let's see if we can find it here. Signature. It's a valid and signed signature from Microsoft Office telemetry log. So this is a legit Windows signed executable. So unless we think someone's stolen Microsoft's signing key, which would be a really big deal, we would have heard about that in the news by now. So we can say this is a legit Microsoft signed binary. I normally don't get in the habit of reverse engineering legit Microsoft signed binaries, especially at least when I'm trying to look at malware. But there's some benefit we can do here, and that's going to be not to like figure out the functionality of it, because I don't think we care, but we want to look at the imports and the exports, specifically what's being imported. And so when we pull this up here, we can see all the different DLLs that are imported, and a lot of these things are built in Windows DLL. But you'll also see here's mso.dll and APT29 subsystem64.dll. And those are the other 2 binaries that were dropped by the HTA file alongside this. So what's actually going on here is we have it's called a DLL side loading attack. So the malware drops the legitimate Windows binary, but then it also drops malicious DLLs next to it. And when it runs, Windows first searches the local directory before it goes to the standard place to find libraries. And so when it finds mso.dll and APT29 subsystem, it's going to use those, which are the malware. And so now you have malware running in a process of a Windows signed executable. So it's a little bit of stealth and hiding. We can look specifically at the things that are called from here. And we just get ordinal 1 and these ordinals 1777 and 1961. When a DLL, or a Windows executable for that matter, makes a function available to other executables to call, it does so both by a name, and that's where you'll see, let's see if we can find one that we actually, so ShellExecuteA, and by an ordinal. And you can see that, let's see, I don't think we see it here. Yeah, so an ordinal is just like what number it is in a slot in a table somewhere. And so those, you can call things by ordinal or by name. So that's what we're seeing here. I think that's basically all we wanted to get out of this one. Let's next take a look at this this app DLL. If I grab this, let me grab this and take a look at it on VirusTotal, I will notice now this one actually does have quite a few. 43 out of 69 are flagging it as malicious. And this is interesting, and we'll see what we're going to see in a second is that this is, well, we'll come back to this and talk about this at the end. So let's go back over here and start to reverse this a little bit. I guess I can close you. Sure. We'll open up this one. And it's going to analyze in a flash because there's not much here. If we look at the imports, there are none. It literally imports nothing. It doesn't use anything from the Windows API. If we look at the exports, we have two. If we click on this one, we'll see here that, oh, I should have kept that open. Did we keep the name? So it's called ordinal1, what was called on the previous one. You can kind of see right here, actually, ordinal1 represents this function, is part of this function right here. So basically, this function is registered to handle all of these possible calls. And it does nothing. It just returns. In fact, we can look at the entry point. This would be like our DLL main, and it just returns. It does nothing. And if we look at the functions, there only are two functions in this whole DLL. We've looked at them both. They both do nothing. And so this DLL, I believe, is here just so that, presumably all these other DLLs used by msoev.exe exist in standard Windows installation. But these would come along when you install the Office telemetry tool. And so if you're going to just drop the Office telemetry tool, you have to drop these other two, or else it's not going to run right. It won't be able to import them. And this one, it's just saying, yeah, we're just going to give you some dummy functions so you can call what you need, get back a success, and be done. So it's kind of just like a stub. We will save that. And that makes it kind of curious here, because, like, not to get philosophical, but, like, should that be flagged as malicious? On the one hand, it's being used for malicious intent, right? This is being used as part of an attack. So if you see this on your box, you want to flag. On the other hand, it's on its own not doing anything malicious. So you can tell here which AV engines are detecting by behavior and what's happening. Because if you're just detecting by behavior, this will not flag. But other ones here are just going to have, this hash is probably in a database somewhere, and it just says this is malicious, stop. And that's probably what's going on here. Cool. Okay, so now with the actual exciting part, right? We'll go to the actual interesting DLL. Let's see. Open you up, and I'm gonna go ahead and let it start doing analysis while we'll grab this and check it out in should be fine. Check it out in VirusTotal here. And this one's even more malicious. Now this one actually is doing stuff. You can see it's Trojan Dukes. I believe this malware is associated with APT29, which is a Russian state-sponsored hacking group, and sometimes known as the Dukes or things like that. So fair amount of stuff here. We've got definitely some malicious activity detected. And let's go here and check it out. Before we get into the binary itself, we'll do the same thing. We'll look at kind of the imports and exports. Exports-wise, there's only 4 exports. This one right here, you can see is actually ordinal 1777. That's one of the ones called by the legit Microsoft binaries. So this thing is advertising like, hey, here, I'm your function, I got you. And it's actually where the malware is going to kick off. If we go to entry point, it just returns 1. So there's no need for that. I haven't looked too much at these TLS callbacks. We could dive into that. We'll see if we have time. Now, figuring out what's going on here, you actually could do that. But before we do that, I want to look at some other things. Let's first check out imports. So kind of just worth looking at get username, not too exciting, although it's kind of like if potentially like exfil type of thing you'd want to know, but it could be something else. Nothing super exciting in here. Get proc address is always good, interesting to see. It means we might have some loading of other things. Nothing super interesting in here. String compare, write, etc. ShellExecuteA, that's definitely interesting. We're going to want to look into ShellExecuteA because that just says it's running something else through the shell, which we'd want to know what that is. Before we dive, so we've got a couple things. We can look at this starting point. We can look at the ShellExecuteA. The other thing I wanted to look at real quick is strings. And if we search for strings, let's see. Nothing too crazy jumps out at here. You get some function names. Nothing else here. Right here. It's kind of small. Hopefully you can see it. wininet.dll. There's other DLLs here. Here's MSVCRT. I thought we saw some of the other ones up in here too. I don't remember exactly where. There's ADV API. But this one, these other ones were there because they're getting loaded and they're getting imported as part of the imports. wininet.dll is not imported. We didn't see that in the imports. So the fact that that string exists tells me that it might be, why would you need the string to a DLL if you weren't going to import it? So we'll want to look at that. And so that'll kind of be our 3 pieces we can look at. I'm going to start by going to, let's go back to ShellExecuteA. We can go grab show references to, and computed call. Is that what we want? That looks like us right here. So we have this right here. And right away, we can see here's our ShellExecuteA. There's an operation and a file and some other stuff. We can see the operation is set with this function, taking pointer to 2f, which looks kind of like a stack string. Same thing happens here. This function takes pointer to 28. And this is a pattern that's going to be common throughout this malware. And these little functions, let's see, let me take a look at this one. We'll notice what's being passed into it is 28. But if we go back from 28 kind of counting down, which is how the stack works, 28, there's 8 bytes down to 20, and then actually get to 18, and there's an F. So we can sort of say we have, let's say 8 plus 16, 17 bytes here. This one, interestingly, has nulls at the top byte, but that's okay. Actually, 3 nulls here. When we go into this function, what is it going to do? Well, it's going to take this thing we passed in. It's going to check F bytes in. So we said this whole thing was 17 bytes. It's going to go 15 bytes in and make sure it's null. Did we say 17? Maybe it was 16. Anyway, it's going to go 15 bytes in and make sure it's null. And then, I guess that's the 16th byte. The first byte is 0. This is byte 15. The 16th byte is null. And then it's going to get the 17th byte right here, and it's going to loop over itself, XORing by the 17th byte and saving it back in place, incrementing and looping around until it hits a null, until it's done. And it breaks out. So basically what this means is XOR this set of bytes by F until you get to F, which XORs and becomes null. Or I guess maybe until the next one's null. This is the null. This becomes a null terminator to the string. The next byte is a null and you're done. And so we could start to, in fact, what I did, and we'll do, I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I wrote this when I was first looking at the malware, and I don't think it'd be that fascinating to watch me write. We'll write decode.py, paste, and we're going to write this little script. And basically what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to set something up so that I can easily paste in, I can copy things off the stack and paste them in and then get a decode. So I'm going to get the last argument is going to be my key, so like it'll be F in this case. I'm going to turn it into an integer. And then I'm going to loop over each other argument, calling it blob, and I'll pass it to decode word. I'll remove if it allows me to put the OX there or not. Lstrip will just take that off the front. And then the key I'll pass in as well. And all I'll do is I will take the word. I'll make sure it's 0 padded. It has to be an even number. If I end up at an odd number, sometimes bytes from hex will yell at me. So I just make it really big, and then it shrinks it back down when I don't need it. And the interesting thing is I need to reverse the order, because if I do it like this, the order is actually there. It's actually 46, 61, 79, working this way. So I reverse the order, join it all back together, and I get a string. We can run this, so we can say python decode.py, grab here, copy, paste, and grab here, copy, paste, and put an F here, and we get invitation.pdf. We can do the same thing here. And this, we'll notice there's actually a null and then a 5 at the end, so we can do python decode that 5, and we get open. So we can come here real quick and say this right here, this operation is, let's put a comment in here. Comment, pre-comment, open. And that right here, we'll see comment, pre-comment, and we'll do invitation.pdf. So that one worked. I don't know why this one didn't work. Let's comment, set pre-comment. Cool. So now those things are being passed in. So ShellExecuteA is going to open invitation.pdf. Now that's the other file that gets dropped by the HTA file. If you go look at the Einladen post I referenced earlier, you see those posts get dropped together, or those files get dropped together. So you run the HTA file, it writes these 3 executables to disk, it writes a PDF to disk, it runs the executable loads the DLL. The DLL presumably is going to call ShellExecuteA to open invitation.pdf. User gets an invitation.pdf on their screen. They think, oh, this is what I just ran. I had a weird extension. I don't even know what that is. I'm not that technical. And oh, an invitation in a PDF, and they're done. They don't realize malware is running in the background. And that's kind of the dead end of where this is. We'll just call this, let's rename this so we have it. Open decoy, there we All right, second thing we're going to look at, and that was the wininet string. Let's come here. Again, let's double click here. That gets us somewhere around, oops, did I not double click? Oh, I'm probably clicking over. Let's see. There we go. Without SFTL, we can already see the function it's referencing right here. So double click to go there. And did it take me there? Not quite what I was expecting. Maybe it is. Okay. Yeah, I think this is it. Okay. Where's the string? I lost the string's got to be in here somewhere, doesn't it? Oh, it's down here at the bottom. Multi-bar to char. So we have some more of these stack stringy things here, right? So this is this one right here, and it is going to see what's the best way to decode this. I guess we'll do the same thing. We'll go back here. Python. Whoa. Python decode. Now we'll put our stack, grab those strings again. It's important to grab them in order, so we'll start with 48 and work down. And then the next one is B6767. And I think that is it. Where is my, is B, oh, and then OB is here, so B is the key. And there it is. LdrLoadDll. This is probably let's do vim decode.py. I think it's because I adjusted it too far. Let's make this 16 instead. Yeah, okay. I'm getting extra space here. I could make, there's a lot I could do to make this prettier, but LdrLoadDll. And what that's going to do is it's actually an undocumented function that is used to load libraries, kind of an alternative to load library. So that right there is very interesting. We'll grab that, and we will see if is this variable used all the time. Oh, okay, so we can call this. There we go, and that goes there. And now we can see that actually is passed to this next one, which is, let's see, eventually. There's that. We're actually going to call something else, some more function. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing here, but I'm just fairly confident now. Just seeing that we've got, you know, LdrLoadDll and LdrLoadDll, and then later we have wininet.dll. It sort of feels like we are getting that 48 is eventually going to come down here, and then we pass this stuff into a PCVAR2. Which is where the result of this function that takes LdrLoader. I don't have to do a ton of analysis to say it's probably loading wininet.dll. So let's look at where this is used. I'm just going to rename this. I love to just rename functions, even if I'm not sure. I'm going to just say like load wininet question mark, and that's now the name of that function. And so we can say like, well, where is this reference? And we can look right at the top here, cross references. This is called from here. Go here, and we can see, here it is right here. It's called. The result, if it's not null, is passed here and used in this next function. And so let's see what that next function does. Let's see. Let's just rename this for now. We'll call it wininet address, and that goes into this function. Now this function, look at all these strings. This is pretty cool. So we have all these strings. Let's grab. Let's do a couple. I probably won't do them all. I can do them all offline, but again, for the sake of watching, if we do this, and then this, and it looks like E. There's open internet. Internet. Did I do that in the wrong order? Oh, internet open A. That's right. Internet open A. And then we can do this next one. That. Whoop, don't need you anymore. Did that copy? Yes, it did. And then let's see, 11. There's Internet Connect A. Again, normally I would write all these. I would take take time and like actually take notes, but again, for the sake of just we're doing this live, let's just paste it in here. And this one looks like another 1111. There's HTTP request, open request A. So we are getting function names here. And these function names are being stored here and then passed into this function along with wininet, or with that wininet address. And I don't have to, this is clearly doing something. But I can just sort of take a guess. Like, what is it doing? I'm going to say for now that this is like the address of internet open A. That this will be the address of internet, what did I say this one was? Connect A. I guess I can just copy these. Rename global, paste that in. And so I'm starting to get a sense for the various things here that are going on. Let's do a couple more. We can grab this one. Python decode, paste view. They're all similar. Paste view. Another 1111. Are these all calling the same decrypt function, I wonder? They are, because they all that function works on 11. So this one will be this. We'll do a few more, a couple more here. Python decode, paste view, and that's another 1111. In case it's not clear when I see that, what basically I'm saying, it's 48, then here's 40, and then 38 is going to be they're some sort of concat, but at the end here it's putting 11, null, 11. So that 11 is what's going to become the null when it's XORed. That null is how it knows it's done, and then the last one is the key. So this internet read file. I guess am I getting to the point now? I might as well just finish these so I can see them. This one's interesting because it's longer. So we'll start at the highest one. So Python decode there. Then 48 goes to 40. Then 40 goes to 38. And this looks like we're hitting the end. So we're hitting 14 and then a null, and then here's a null 14. So we can put a key of 14 there. And internet close handle. Not bad. Rename global, paste you. And so we've got all these things named here. I don't actually know, so we could spend some more time going through what these are, but I'm going to just have a theory at this point that I'm getting the address of each of these things. So what's the next reasonable thing I want to think about? Well, where are these being used? So let's grab any of these, right? Might as well grab the first one, Internet Open A. If I right click, references to Internet Open A. We can see one of them is a write reference, and that's what we just did. That's where we were just now, 2b90, 2bf2, so a little bit into that function. And here's a read one where we're actually using it. So let's go there. And it turns out all of these are actually right here. And you can see, we start to go through here. Here's Internet Open A. Here's Internet Connect A. Here's HTTP Request A. Here's HTTP Send Request. And each of these has things that are more stack strings that are being decoded along the way. And we can start to figure out what some of these are. So we can say, let's grab this one. Put U in. Now up here, we've just got C being appended. As simple as just doing C. Curl. This looks like a user agent string. Oh, I probably was meant to get E8, E0. I was probably meant to get this right here. Yep. So let's grab that again with this on the end. There we go. Curl 768. That makes sense there. I guess we can make this. Well, we'll remember it for now. So that's gonna be our user agent. E8 here. Python decode that. Grab U, paste, grab U, paste, and it's that extra 13 is not really a part of it, so we'll put 13 here, and we get toy.zulipchat.com. Now that is the domain that we saw in the PCAP being resolved. So now we have seen where it's actually going to make that connection to Zulip. This is the coolest part, and this will take a while to pull together. I will pause the video while I do, but I think it's worth doing so you can see it. So I'll probably go ahead and zip through this, but it's important I grab these in order. So here's E8, E0. Oh, it's also important I put the space there. And so after E0 becomes D8, etc., working our way down. And I'm just going to grab all of these. In fact, why don't we do this a little slicker? So we will notice we go from E8 down to 57. Then there's a 97, then a null byte. You can see this is shorter, and then a 97 to the front. So 97 is going to be my key, and I need to get all of these. And these look to be in order going down. So do this. We'll do vim, paste these in. I'm over here, Control V, I believe, is how I select space like that, and I can delete. And then we can do substitute this and a new line with a space. And boom, we've got all of our things. Let's grab them here, come up here, and bam, bam, bam. And what did I say, 97? Boom, this is cool. Okay, so we have content type. This is clearly gonna be the HTTP headers. So we've got content type, application, xwww, form URL encoded, and we have authorization basics. We have the username and password. Whenever you see basic auth like this, all it's doing is putting username, password, and base64 encoding it. And so we can decode that. And we have Gab's bot at toy.zulip.com and their password right here. So we could, this is a little bit older malware now, a few months old. I'm assuming that that account has been changed because this has become public, but it's still super cool that we've got the password and username now. We could actually look for that. And it looks like we're doing some internet. We're sending the request. We're reading the file in a loop here, looping through into this global, it looks like. So I'm going to say var8 is sort of an offset into that global variable. We're reading from it until we get to 0 bytes. That's going to be bytes read. So when that comes back as 0, we are breaking. Until then, we just loop around and increment var8. Yeah, so var8 is, we're going to add to the number of bytes read to var8. So let's say we read 10 bytes. Now it starts as 0. We write the first 10 bytes in. This becomes 10. We add 10 to that pointer, and then we loop. And now the next time we're going to start writing 10 bytes into the buffer. We're going to read whatever's left. And whenever we do a read and fail and get nothing back, that's when we know we're done and we can close out. I think I'm going to call it here. Next thing we could do is go say, okay, where is this variable used? I guess there's one more thing I will show. We could say, where is this global used? But we're not going to see much. Let's see references to that. Oh, I take that back. There are lots of things. I take that back. So we can go investigate all these and look at how it's being used. And see, well, anyway, look at how they're being used and see if we can figure out what the data is being read and maybe it runs some commands or something out of it. So that would be useful. There's also, the one other thing I will show. So I said I'd come back to this export at the top. One thing we can see right away is if this is the function that is run called by the legit binary. And you can see right at the top here, open decoy shows up here. So the first thing it's going to do is open the decoy. We have load wininet is here. So we would load wininet here. The result being passed into this thing. So this is where we gill our functions. We could name this get wininet func. So that's kind of, we can, again, just with some light renaming, we can see what's happening. We can click in here. This to me looks like some kind of RC4. It's setting up this block of data that it is looping through and creating 0 to 256 or 0 to 255 bytes, and those bytes values are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 255. And then there's all this kind of mixing going on. We can notice this dat B080 shows up again out here. That's not here, out here as it's doing some more decryption. And then when I come down to these functions here, I start seeing things like unrecovered jump table. And basically, the code is screwed up. And I think it's probably decrypting itself. And these functions probably become good. And I could do some dynamic analysis where I actually open this up and run it in a debugger and take a look at these and see how they change. And that's where I would go next on this. But I thought even just seeing, okay, we've confirmed it is definitely talking to Zulip chat. We've got the username and password used to log in, which is pretty cool. We didn't get that with the PCAP. So I think it's interesting enough right there. So can definitely go further with this. That's one of the things about malware is you can almost always go dig further in, but we're going to call it here. So thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for staying all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you next time.